Welcome back, football fans. It's RGR Football. Me and Dan back together again to talk about your team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and what's going on with them, and honestly, what's going to go on with them, because this is going to be an interesting year. If you're new to the channel, make sure you get clicked right now on the sub and the notification and all that stuff. Make sure you leave your comments below. Want to give you guys kind of made the official schedule for now, the off season. If you're new to the channel, make sure if you haven't seen a live stream yet, we cover just about everything. That's a good time. Film room and whatever happens to be floating around happens midweek. And then later we get into the player evals and any bonus content that we come up with. And we got a lot going on, so you never know what's going to drop. Hope you guys are ready for that, because today we have to talk that everybody is gunning for this team. And I mean everybody.
Everybody.
It's not just the Ravens, although I know what the Ravens are doing, and it is about this particular team. For me, let's bring it in a little bit before we go too far. Who do you think in the division made the biggest strides?
You know, I really do like what Oakland did. I think that they added a lot of good offensive pieces, period. Like they have, I think it was, Lynn Bowden Jr. was at. I think that the idea that they wanted to do is just add speed, obviously. They think that in order to be able to compete with the Chiefs, you have to emulate the Chiefs. But you still have Derek Carr as your quarterback. So you're not exactly going to be emulating what the Chiefs do. You're going to be trying to make some kind of, aftermarket product that may not look the exact same because the quarterback you have isn't near the caliber. But I tell you what, Josh Jacobs is a player. I absolutely love that running back, and I can't stand to say something good about the Raiders, but I love Josh Jacobs. So I think that the Raiders in a few years probably have a better chance outside of most of these teams, except if Drew Lock takes some incredible steps. Like if he takes some real steps forward.
And it's funny that you say that, because I see a lot of prognosticators. It looks like everybody's done. They're not going to be suggesting that the Chargers are going to win this division like they do every. But now it seems to be the Broncos like, oh, look, they have a quarterback. Let's go.
Colin Cowherd.
Oh, I didn't even see that one. I wasn't even talking about him.
Oh, yeah.
No. Oh, okay. Well,
they're going to win the division. Remember?
Oh,
now it's the Broncos going to win the division.
I missed the memo, bro. I don't understand.
Okay, because he got Andy Reid on the show the next day, and then he was very much smacked him down. So that was good.
Well, it's funny, folks. If you missed last week when Matt Derrick was on, he told a story about what happens when Andy Reid gets pissed off about a media member at practice. That's always fun. So go back and check that out. And I wouldn't want Andy getting mad at me, but I like a motivated Andy. Not like he's not, but hey, let him keep talking, because I agree with you. I think they have more weapons in Denver, and I like what they did. I'm a big Sutton fan. I think Sutton, outside of Tyreek Hill, I think Sutton's the best receiver in this division. And yes, I'm talking to you, Keenan Allen. Yeah,
I like Keenan Allen, and a lot of people try to talk about him being so underrated, but what does he do in division games? He disappears. Right. He just disappears. He can't play against teams that you're supposed to beat in order to win your division. And there's a reason that the Chargers haven't been doing it all that much. It's because their players don't come to play in these big games. And then Phillip Rivers was throwing 4 or 5 interceptions a game against the Chiefs alone. So, I think that when we look at just the kind of things that Courtland Sutton does from a route running, he's still got some flat out speed to burn for a bigger guy, and then just the area to catch the football from wherever it is. So Drew Lock is going to be able to make some errant throws, and he's going to benefit from it still with the catch radius that Sutton has. And like I said, I don't like complimenting the teams in the division so much, but Josh Jacobs and Courtland Sutton are two guys that I love their game.
I like them too. And obviously, I mean, when you talk about, there's a couple of trends here that I kind of enjoy. Judy and Ruggs both go to AFC West teams. Yeah. Both the KJs go to AFC West teams. I don't know if I prefer Hamler or Hill, but we'll get into that in terms of fit later. Yeah. But both underneath guys, both two guys that can stretch and run good routes, or either or, whatever you want to call it, and two guys that can play underneath and take advantage if you play over the top too much. Yeah. And that brings me back to where we have to keep our attention focused. And we talked about Fenton a week ago. I did a film review the week before that on L'Jarius Sneed, who I think is going to get a lot of playing time. And I know something that we have to cover is all these teams trying to stretch, all these teams trying to combat and put up points. Who do you think is the most important linchpin in defending that for the Chiefs defense?
It's got to be Juan Thornhill. Really, we talk about the Chiefs' defense when they played last year did a lot of two deep safety looks, and there's a lot that goes into that, and I think that a lot of it has to do with Spags wanted to find out exactly what his corners are. He's got Charvarius Ward, who came in as his first year full-time starter with Breeland, who's been a solid number two a lot of his career. And so he's got to feel out a process of what these corners can do, especially guys like Fenton, who played in the slot and on the outside. He's just got to see what they can do. And using two deep safeties like that with Mathieu and Thornhill allows corners to really play free on the outside. And if receivers release to the inside, then they can kind of wait and see and let some of the middle linebacker and the safeties kind of work with that inside. They don't have to follow them all the way through the route. And especially when it comes to Charvarius Ward, he is best when he's able to play press man and then turn and run with a receiver. He's got some good long speed and long arms that can help combat that kind of situation. So I think that Thornhill being fully healthy, as healthy as he can be early in the season, is going to be the biggest key to help this defense kind of stay in terms of keeping tops on those offenses.
Yeah. And I mean, and then there's all these rumors, folks. I'm going to talk, by the time you see this, I probably have already talked about Jamal Adams and what that looks like and what a long shot that is, but we'll get to that in a minute. And you're going to have an article on Arrowhead, guys, about Charvarius. And that's where I want to focus right now, because I agree with you. Press man's what he's got to do. I think when we saw lapses from him last year, and I do feel 2019 was an improvement for him.
Yeah, definitely.
But when we saw lapses, several of them were in zones or even man coverages where you had to do a lot of thinking. That one with Fuller in the playoffs, with the streak, where you had to know what your assignment was over the top, that got away from him a little bit. I think he's very instinctual when he's uptight and able to use those long arms and be impressed. That's where you got to be with him. And if he's going to be this season the top corner you have, I think that forces you to have to play man more than maybe Steve Spagnuolo had wanted to before.
Yeah, and I actually do have my articles already been on Arrowhead, guys, for probably about a month now on Charvarius Ward. And that play you spoke about with Will Fuller up the sideline on the left side, I think it has more to do with his ball location than anything, because he's right there. He turns with Fuller and he runs up the sideline, and then he's looking for the ball, and he just couldn't find it. And that's when you see him kind of stop a little bit, and Fuller just goes right by him because he already knows where the ball is, and he's got to, he makes a big play, and Fenton brings him down eventually. But I think that, Sam Madison talked about it in one of the interviews about watching film properly and understanding film. And I think that that's such a big part of these young guys. Charvarius Ward's 24 years old, and you're coming into the NFL and having to learn to, break down film better and see the speed of these guys in person, and also being able to break it down on your own. So, seeing Will Fuller's speed is one thing, but knowing, when the quarterback wants to throw the football and the timing kind of thing is all about seeing the tendencies and the footwork of a quarterback while you're in that moment. And I think that Ward's eyes still haven't developed fully yet, and I wouldn't expect them to be an undrafted free agent and then 24 years old. So it's not like he's just going to come in and be great at locating the football, seeing a quarterback's tendencies with his footwork and timing and that kind of thing. So there's still room to grow, and I think that he can figure that out in this offseason. We can see a step forward to maybe not being a great number two like I think he is, but instead being maybe a lower tier number one corner in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's where I think his potential is. Yeah. It is an increment that he's got to achieve, but I agree with you. And I think for a lot of young players, and there are a ton, if you take Bashaud Breeland out, if he's suspended, you take him out of that room, they don't have anybody that's not 25. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think this might actually be an advantage for Charvarius in particular, Rashad Fenton as well, but in general for the Chiefs secondary that is generally young outside of Tyron and Dan Sorensen. They're young all the way around, just because all they can do right now is do film. All they can do is listen to Coach Madison.
That's true.
And they have to. If they can do that, like you said, this all sets up towards preparing game week. Film game week is what makes the differences on Sundays. That sets them up for where they have to get to. And I feel like, again, like Spagnuolo talked about the other week, still feeling out where you're going to put things. I do think that they're going to experiment with Fenton. I don't know where he's going to end up. But that film aspect allows them, once he gets a feel for what a guy understands better, he'll be able to tailor the coverages better. I do expect to see more switches. I'm tired of seeing, honestly, I'm tired of asking rookies to play inverted coverages, dropping from a nickel all the way to the high safety. That makes me cringe. I got to tell you. Maybe they don't have to. Hey, it worked.
It did.
Philip Rivers, thanks for underthrowing that one. But I'm just saying, it can't work every time.
No,
I want to see something that allows them to do different things, because I think teams are going to prepare for that now.
Yeah.
And I think what you're going to need to see is Ward be able to take, like you said earlier, not having to let somebody ride to the inside because you have help at backer and safety, but be able to shut somebody down. That's what I got to see for him to be a number one.
I completely agree. And when we look at some of the things that he does well in terms of, I think that he anticipates routes from receivers pretty well. There's a clip that I found of him, running over across the field with Austin Eckler, who's a shifty guy, and he saw he was going to run a drag route. He just is able to stay in that side hip pocket and run with them across the field and break up a pass. So I think that if we combine that with his maybe improving a little bit more in the terms of jabbing and getting that timing down to throw receivers timing off, which again points back to film. You see receivers and how they prefer to set up corners with their footwork and that kind of timing. You can throw a subtle jab in there and throw that off. Then he can get more comfortable in running with a receiver across the field and kind of sticking with him in that hip pocket. He did a couple of those things against Stephon Diggs where he held him a little bit, which doesn't bother me in the slightest.
It happens.
If I'm being completely honest with you, outside of Bashaud Breeland's 12 penalties last year, yes, you heard that right. He had 12 penalties last year. I think almost all of them were holding or defensive pass interference. I don't have a problem giving up a few defensive holding penalties because I think being a little bit more physical in that aspect of the game will pay dividends in the game, especially in the playoffs where they don't call it as much. And that's something that Ward does very well. He's a physical guy. He doesn't back down from anybody. Ask DeAndre Hopkins. He does not back down from anybody. He'll get in there and be physical with you. So I do like through the area that he's going with. And I really hope that we can see, Fenton mixed in there on the outside a little bit, because I think he's got some of that in him too.
I do too, and I think having the boundary will help him dramatically. And I like that you bring up Breeland's penalties. I'm pretty okay with it too. I would like them not to be there.
12's a little high.
It is a little high.
It gets on the upside for me.
He's really exposed with deep speed, so you got to give him something.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
But that aspect that you bring up about the physicality being something that you can't really see in the stats, you can't see him play, but it helps as the game wears on. I think that's what I'm concerned about Ward. And I hope that not only is he studying film, I want to see Ward get a little bit thicker through the shoulders and be stronger. Because like you said, that jab will help, but you got to be able to one arm that. Yeah. You can't hope to always get two hands on a guy, especially the Hops and good Lord, everybody that's now in the AFC West. You got to be able to make that stab with one arm and not hold, but maintain contact so you know where he is. I think if he gets stronger in his upper bodies, particularly in the shoulder region, that's going to help him maintain some of that pressure to keep a route from developing exactly how the wide receiver wants.
Yeah, and I watched a couple of games of him against Kenny Golladay and some of these bigger receivers, and he's still going to have some issues with that. But in the division itself, you've got Mike Williams, Courtland Sutton. Those guys are physical, big bodies that like to go up and catch the football, and you can't always hope that you're going to be able to. Even if you're in the right position to make a play, they can go up and get that. So throwing off a lot of that timing is really going to pay dividends in terms of, those catches where you're right there, but they go up and they get it because you're throwing them off of their route. So in this division, it's going to be interesting to see how they approach playing this speed style. Because if they start attacking the outsides and then opening things up underneath, I'm not sure that the Chiefs have the speed on defense with their starters at corner right now to be able to deal with that.
And that's the biggest concern for me. And that's why I'm focused on Ward, especially being able to disrupt. But I agree with you. The Chiefs have decided, they've made a decision that they're not investing in high draft picks or free agents at the corner position. And they've left themselves vulnerable to long speed. And I think it's because of Thornhill. Maybe Snead helps that out. But I still feel like if you want to get good, if you want to get to the point where you're a top 12 defense, you have to be able to play more single high and you have to be more aggressive in what you're doing at the quarterback, especially in this division.
But do they really want to be top 12? I mean, Do they
I
need
do.
to be? Do they
I
need
do.
to be top 12? Is really what we're going here,
No.
because they don't need to be a top 12 defense. I get it. We'd all love to see them be top 12, shutting offenses down, getting interceptions, but they don't seem to care so much about that. And it goes to show you exactly what they said. Look, we can help this defense with getting some of these corners later in the draft, and then taking a guy like Willie Gay, who's really going to help solidify the linebacker position down the road. But everything else, corner, we can kind of manufacture production. We don't need guys like
We're going to protect them.
Christian Fulton. We don't need that. We don't need it. I would have liked to have Christian Fulton on the team. He plays really good man coverage.
Yeah.
Nah, we're good.
Yeah, I know. I just sometimes I wonder, because I agree with you. You're absolutely right. They've proven they don't need a better defense to win a championship.
No.
But I want them to. I am tired of this.
I get it.
It's been years. And that said, teams will adapt. So they have to be able to adapt as well.
Yeah.
And we saw what they did against the run. And you had a really good point about Willie Gay. And having Pennell on board helps him. Obviously, with Saunders and Noddy back, that helps them. They're going to have Chris Jones. Chris Jones isn't somebody that I feel is really dominant against the run. I think he picks and chooses, but he's a little inconsistent for me. So I think it will come down to Willie. I think Willie's going to play a lot. I said that last week. But against the run specifically, I feel like that's where they have to kind of help him a little bit in bringing Sorensen or Matthew up front.
Yeah, I think so. Just because instinctually he's not going to be fully there and understanding exactly where he needs to be in every play. I don't expect any rookie linebacker to come in and be able to just shut down the run. It doesn't happen at the NFL level. The game's too fast, and things happen in ways that they don't happen in college, especially for a guy who didn't play very much in college.
Yeah.
He didn't play that much. So he's got little game experience, all the physical traits imaginable, just needs to get those reps in. And I think that you're 100% accurate. You got to bring guys that have been in there for a while, Matthew, Sorensen, that recognize things and help him out that way.
Yeah. And I think allowing him to grow is going to help him quite a bit. Overall, his speed on defense, and honestly, Hitchens has good speed too. Not great, but good. And if you're going to play, I think particularly Snead and Matthew, all of a sudden between the hashes, you're quicker. And I think that is where teams want to attack with guys like Ruggs, who I think needs to play in the slot, like Hamler, who I think needs to play in the slot.
Yes.
So that's what it comes down to. If Fenton has to go outside, is it Snead at nickel? Is it Matthew all the way down at nickel? I think that's where the speed has to come in, because that's where they have it. You got to get those guys on the field as much as possible.
Yeah, we could see a kind of a rotation. They could just throw guys in there at corner, nickel, safety, because they've got guys that can play literally at any position in the secondary. So maybe they have some fun with it and just kind of say who's going to play who on this down. Just kind of put everyone's name in a hat and just throw it out and be like, hey, guess what? You're going to go play nickel, you're going to play outside, you're going to play safety. So it could actually really help confuse some of the offensive players too. They don't necessarily study for everybody a secondary they could possibly see, like the safeties and guys on the bench. So it could be interesting.
Yeah. And much like we could see the dawn of a mush coverage rather than a mush front.
Yeah. Just throw everybody at, see what sticks.
Right? I mean, I'm not ready for that. As a guy who thinks defense first,
I'm ready for that.
Yeah. Fine, whatever.
Let's get some 50 burgers in here, man. If a team scores 30, let's just have Pat throw the ball everywhere. I'm okay with it.
Not enough. Well, and that ties into what we're going to talk about next time, folks. Dan's working away on some stuff on Clyde, and yeah, I'll bet. I've seen a couple of the clips that you've done, and I think it harkens back to what my first take was: is that the fit is just
so good.
I'm not even going to argue anymore about a first round running back. The fit goes beyond what we can expect. The question for me is, and we'll get to this next time. So, folks, hit us with your questions about what you want to see from Clyde and what you thought about where the defense is speed-wise. Speed isn't Clyde's game, but there's more to it than what you've seen so far in the highlights.
Yeah, I'll leave you guys with just one thing. It's not about the speed. It's not about the fit necessarily. It's about efficiency. When we look at the running game, we're not going to run the ball. The Chiefs are not going to run the ball a lot. It's just not going to happen. But the times they do run the football, they want to make it more efficient when they run the football. Damian Williams did not provide that. He provided chunk plays. He got 2 really big long touchdowns. But look at the rest of those snaps. 2, 1, sometimes negative yardage. That's not going to happen all the time with Clyde. And that's the biggest reason of outside of his fit in the pass game they brought him into this team, making the run game efficient instead of uber one run score. So that's really what it's about.
And maybe when they get up 30, they can finally run more and make me happy.
Get Anthony Sherman in the game, just pound the rock.
Yes, and love it. Andy, if you're listening, I got ideas. Folks, that's going to be it for us today before I get too deep into the run game again and everyone shuts down. It'll even make Dan go away. But make sure, click the sub, get subscribed to us. We're going to be doing this all season long. We have some new tweaks coming for you. He's going to have film this week. I think I might have film this week too. I can't even remember what's coming when.
Big stuff coming.
Yes. So keep it here. Dan, thanks for your time today. Happy Father's Day too, man.
You too, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Folks, hope you enjoy yourselves. We'll talk to you next time.